Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 7 of SuperSports, the review series for Gran Turismo 6's vehicles which are beyond your average sports car, but not necessarily quite at the level of a full-on supercar. And this car really is the definition of a supersports machine. It's beyond a sports car, but not quite a supercar. And the car in question is the RUF RGT. Now, as with all RUFs, it's a Porsche-based vehicle. In this particular model, it's based on the 996 Series 911. And the real highlight of the car, as with most Porsches, is the engine. A 3.6 litre, naturally aspirated flat 6, which is of course located at the rear of the car and powers only the rear wheels. Now, despite not having any turbo or supercharger to aid its power, it still produces a very respectable 580 horsepower when fully tuned. Now, the torque is a little bit uninspiring at 398 pound-feet, but that's not all that surprising for a Porsche-based vehicle. They tend to be more about high-end power rather than low-end grunt. And they're also known for being quite lightweight for their class, and this model is no exception. With the full weight loss package, it weighs 1152 kilos, which gives it a very respectable power-to-weight ratio, despite not necessarily having as much power as some of the other cars in this bracket, of 503 horsepower per tonne, which is very good. Now, the PP, incidentally, when fully tuned, is perhaps a surprisingly low 573, but it's actually very good that it sits at that level, because it is very competitive at that level, especially for tracks where you can really use what RUFs are known for, their straight line performance, especially top end performance. And this car does not let the brand name down, because despite having significantly less power than many of the other cars in this category, it's no slouch. It will do around 250 miles per hour without NOS or slipstream, which for the power is very, very good. The acceleration is also very strong, thanks to most of its weight being over the drive wheels, which helps to ground the power, and also, obviously, the lightweight package helps with acceleration immeasurably. Now, the thing that most people tend to be wary of with RUFs, and by extension Porsches in general on racing games, is of course the handling. Being a relatively unique layout of rear engine, rear wheel drive, and also very rev happy, that's not a particularly great sounding combination, because you haven't got much weight over the steering wheels and you've got a lot of high-end power, which, to get that power, you're automatically at a level where the car wants to wheel spin. So it doesn't really sound like a good combination of things to have. But they're actually very good track cars, and the handling is nowhere near as leery as you might expect. Now, with some RUFs, they are. The Yellowbird is a pretty leery car when you get up to high speeds, but the RGT is actually probably their most forgiving model overall, and that's due mainly to it being a newer shape Porsche that it's based on, with the advances in technology that come with that. Now, it's by no means the kind of car that somebody with no experience could jump in and demolish the Nürburgring ring in, but it's nowhere near as difficult as you might imagine to drive. In fact, the handling has its own unique signature among the supersports class, and that is that it has an excellent turn in. And that is actually in part due to how little weight there is over the front end, which allows you to maneuver the front end of the car very, very easily, very precisely, and very rapidly. And so in especially low-end corners, it can outmaneuver most of its rivals. Now, obviously, the tail end can be slippery. There's not much weight grounding the car, and even though it's not as powerful as some of its rivals, it's still a very powerful car. But you can get most vehicles to slide if you push them far enough, so that's not really the most accurate way of describing a car. The fact is that RUFs in general, but especially this model, have great advantages over their rivals in terms of, ironically, handling. The turn-in, as we already mentioned, can outclass most of its rivals, if not all of them. The car in general has very good weight balance, even though most of the weight you would think would be at the back, which technically it is, but it doesn't feel like that. You can feel that there is more weight at the back, but it doesn't feel too much. It still feels like a very well-balanced car. Plus, Porsches are relatively compact compared to some of their rivals, especially in width. And this car, again, is no exception there. It is more compact than many of the other super sports cars. The SLS AMG, for instance, is a much larger vehicle, and that can work against it on some tracks, against a RUF rival. Now, the price is 143,000 credits, which in this class is actually very good. That's very, very good value for money. And overall, if you're looking for a fun car to drive that has completely unique handling and is highly competitive for its power and PP, you should definitely try out this car. So that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.